Hello, this is Melissa Ryan with Karen and Susie, who are my guests today, and I'll have them introduce themselves shortly. We're outside, so we can be present and just ignore any noise that might come our way. But I want to speak to the title before I have my guests introduce themselves, and we're talking about bringing the aha to yoga. What does that really mean? Well, we really want to speak to the transformational change that can take place when you deepen your practice through yoga teacher training. And so Susie and Karen are going to talk about this upcoming training program that they have going on, what it entails, and what they mean when they talk about transformational change and the traditional Hatha yoga practice. So thank you, ladies, for joining me.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
So I'm Karen Jokum, and I am the lead trainer in the program. And the reason I want to bring this video to all of you today is to talk about what my yoga practice and my teachings and trainings have done for me all these years. I'm a certified ERYT 500 yoga teacher trainer. I'm also a continuing education teacher trainer, as well as an Ayurvedic practitioner and counselor, which is the sister science to yoga. Cool. And before we move on, let's introduce the beautiful Susie.
Hello, my name's Susie Burns. Previously Richie. I got married a year ago. And
congratulations.
Thank you. And I've been practicing yoga for somewhere around 20 years. I've been teaching for 10, and I've been training for about 6 years now. And I've found that this is where I'm really, passionate, is getting into the trainings and experiencing that transformational experience for all of the teachers, the students. It's just been amazing through the years to be a part of that.
Yeah. So, what got you each started in yoga? What was the passion that drew you to it? And
so I was 25, which I probably won't tell you how long ago that was, but I have been practicing for 30 years now, and I've been a trainer and teacher for 20 years. And I think the first thing that brought me into it is my mom and my grandma took me to yoga classes. My mom was actually the first person, and we were just going to check out yoga, and I fell in love with it. And about a year later, 30 years ago, it was kind of hard to find teacher trainers, so I found a program through Yoga Journal with Rosanna Frechette at Inner City Yoga. Thank you, Rosanna. And decided I just wanted to learn for myself. It had nothing to do with being a teacher trainer. Okay. I just wanted to learn, what is this yoga all about, and what is it going to do for me, and what is it going to, I was feeling transformation, and so that's what I decided to do. And I went to it, and somehow here I am. I never planned to be a teacher. 30 years later, here I am as a lead trainer.
Yeah, that's wild.
Yeah.
And what do you think has led to that, you ending up here as a trainer and a teacher?
I believe it's really the all the pieces weave together of yoga, and just studying and learning the Eightfold Path of Yoga, of ancient Hatha Yoga, of which this is our training, the ancient art of Hatha Yoga. And I believe just the practice and weaving everything together has brought me to this place, into this experience. And not only do I feel it has changed my life, but my entire family's life as well. Yes, cool. Absolutely.
So it's been very powerful part of who you've become.
Oh, absolutely.
And very much, it sounds like, woven into your life.
My lifestyle, yeah. And my family's lifestyle, yeah.
Neat.
Yes.
Do a lot of your family members practice yoga then?
So my stepdaughter, hi Lena, my stepdaughter did do her yoga teacher training, and my other daughter, Brittany, and her family practices quite a bit. My grandkids practice yoga and practice yoga with us. And my husband, Michael Jokum, is also one of our lead trainers. He is phenomenal teacher and writer, and he will be teaching us all of the philosophy, history, and Sanskrit pieces in the training.
Cool.
Yeah.
And Susie has a similar story. She never thought she was going to be a yoga teacher.
I did not.
How did that get started? I'm going to kind of turn this so it's
Yeah, so I was actually in a pretty dark time about 10, 11 years ago, and I was struggling with some addiction, and I decided that I wanted to clean myself up, and I started going to the gym all the time because I didn't know what else to do with myself.
Yeah, you're like,
and
I got a lot of time.
Yeah, I was working out, and I just happened to be there during a yoga class one day. So I decided I would go in and check it out, and I had done yoga before, but never very dedicated. And so I went into this class and I sat down. And as soon as the teacher started speaking, I felt like she was talking directly to me. Thank you, Jen Stewart. So I was hooked. And from that moment on, I kept going to her classes, and I just kind of enveloped myself into the practice, and I started to experience that transformational process for myself. It really started to heal my heart and my mind, my body. And from there, it was like I just wanted to know more. So I was always asking her, what book should I read? How can I learn more about this or that? And she finally said, Susie, I really think you should do a yoga teacher training. And I was like, I can't teach yoga. I can't even touch my toes. And she said, no, I don't think you should do it because you want to teach. I think you should do it to continue healing. And so that's what brought me into the program. And I never looked back after that. I just dove in, and I found that I was just so passionate about wanting to share what I had learned with everybody. And so I just started teaching as much as I could, and I ran with it, and now here we are.
Many years have passed, and lots of other folks you have impacted and taught before, and you both, it sounds like, have had this ripple effect in your own community and the yoga community at large.
Absolutely.
Well, and I think that's something that's really unique about our training is that it's very experiential knowledge, or what I consider wisdom, that we share, because it's from our own experience. It's not something that we're just reading out of a book and teaching that way. It's something that we've read in a book, and then we've practiced it, we've experienced it, and now we're sharing it.
So it's lived experience.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And so you have this deepened wisdom that you get to share. And you mentioned, and I'd love you to dive more into it, what exactly makes this a traditional hatha practice? What does that even mean for somebody who's maybe just starting to dive into yoga or hasn't even started yet?
Absolutely. Well, I'll start and I'll let you dive in because you explain it so beautifully. So our training is the ancient art of hatha yoga. The word hatha translates to, it's actually pronounced hata, which means sun, moon. And it's balancing, and it's taking the ancient art of all these teachings, which we have to remember, this is an eightfold path. There's many areas. It's not just about how pretty your poses are. It really begins with the breath, and there's philosophy, and there's history, and there's anatomy, and there's esoteric anatomy and physiology. And we take everything that we have learned from all of our teachings, and we both have been to more than one 200-hour training, 500-hour trainings. We continuously educate ourselves and weave this ancient art together of these tantric practices. And I'll let you speak a little more on the tantric practices and how we weave together.
So tantra, this word, is actually referring to the ancient scriptures and teachings. And the idea is that we can take all these different threads, like mantra and mudra and breath and asana, or the postures, the philosophy, the eight limb path, all of these things, and we weave them together. And so it's all, in the end, somehow comes together to create this fabric. Right, so it's all the different things come together to really create that transformation. And then I think it's important to remember that it's a practice, right, a tantric practice. And so it's something that we have to dedicate ourselves to continue our practice. It's not something that we, check off our list and say, oh, I'm done with that. Right, it's something that it's continually coming back to these ancient teachings over and over, because really, right, we're all growing and evolving and changing every single day. And so every time we come back to these practices and these, poses or teachings, we're going to see them in a different way. We're going to understand them in a different way, and it's going to serve us in many ways throughout our lives.
So it's almost like they talk about that spiral of growth where you're revisiting things, but you have a newer understanding, a deeper understanding of it.
Absolutely. I love that visual.
Cool.
Yeah.
And this is a lifestyle. It's part of your life now too. You can't get away from it.
It's true.
And it's when, like what we were talking about, this is about that aha moment. It's many of you have had this moment where you're practicing with this really beautiful teacher that you love at this really wonderful studio, or perhaps in the backyard of where we're at right now at Golden Wellbeing Collective, that you have this aha moment, and it's all of a sudden this, like, something goes off, this light goes off, to where you really begin to have an understanding of what the benefits of this ancient art of Hatha Yoga are doing for you, whether that's in your mind or your body, I mean spiritually, emotionally, mentally. It can be any of the above or all of the above. And really what it comes down to is it brings it back to you. It brings you one with your soul, with your mind and your body and your soul is what it's meant to do.
It creates a lot of clarity, you know, it just on so many different levels.
And so if I understand right, this training really offers folks an opportunity. Maybe they've been practicing for a while, maybe even several years, and this offers them a unique opportunity to just really dive deeper and see how the practice can integrate in maybe more ways in their life, maybe shift their lifestyle big picture. Maybe they're like, yeah, I've tried to keep yoga as a constant practice, but it hasn't really taken hold, taken root.
Right.
And this really offers that opportunity to do that deeper reflection, that deeper understanding.
Absolutely.
The community aspect, I imagine, is really big.
Yeah, the community aspect is really big. One of the things about this training coming up is we allow 12 trainees to come in, so save your spot because it fills up quickly. And the reason why we only offer it up to 12 students at a time is because we want to keep the quality of our education really, really high, so people have that really transformational experience. And it's just, you know, there's always 2 trainers in the room at one time. We have several trainers in the program, but there was always a couple of us in the room at one time to less amount of trainees in there just for that experience. You know, because you can go to a lot of training practices, and there's a lot of great teacher trainings out there, but do you want to be in a room with 30, 40, 50 people? Or would you rather be in a room with a dozen people? And that's where that community feel comes in too. You come out of the training with some of the best friends of your life, people that share those same thoughts as you, same type of, you know, similar lifestyles. Till this day, when I did my very first training, hi Marana, in Kundalini Yoga, she's been one of my best friends till this day, and we did our training, you know, 15, 20 years ago together. Yeah.
What is it about the experience that leads to those deepened friendships, those connections that are lifetime?
Well, you want to speak to that a little bit about that community experience in a classroom?
Absolutely. You know, I think the practices are so purifying for not just the body, but also the mind and the emotions. And, you know, when we become, you know, there's times throughout the training that we might kind of share or things come up, and we get intimate with our groups, you know, from time to time. And so that builds those deeper relationships. I think it helps us all to become closer to our most authentic self, you know, and I think when we have the courage to, you know, kind of expose ourselves in a way that we might not in other scenarios, that it creates that deeper connection. And, you know, when we do that for ourselves, it almost gives other people permission to do it as well, and then it creates just this amazing transformation.
Yeah,
it keeps coming back to that.
Yep, the transformation. And what I'm hearing you speak to is because yoga is about getting in the body and having an embodied experience, and also being present. And like you're saying, there's a safety created in the community. You can show up in an authentic, genuine self, and your true self can show up, as opposed to the self that's worried about what's coming next, or is, you know, ruminating about the past. They're in the moment, and so your true essence has the opportunity to show up, is what I'm hearing.
Absolutely.
Yes. You said it perfectly.
That's why we're such a great team.
Yeah,
we
that's
just
what I was
bounce
gonna
right off of
say.
each other. Bounce
There's
right
that
off of each other.
synchronicity right there, which is so beautiful. And more and more, it seems so necessary in the world. Like, I've been talking with a lot of my colleagues who are in different wellness fields and those outside of the wellness fields, and it just feels like the culture and the world at large is very revved up. And this seems to really offer an opportunity to slow down, to connect with self, to connect with the world at large and community, and really just turn inwards, which is where real growth, from my point of view, takes place.
I agree with that. I'm going to speak to that for just for a moment. In 2004, I did my second 200-hour teaching in Kundalini Yoga. And the reason I did that is because Kundalini Yoga was really resonating with me, and I wanted to learn more about that. Even though I was already teaching, I was like, I really want to continue my education. You can never have too much yoga education because there's no such thing as too much education. But Yogi Bhajan would speak to the fact, and this was in 2004, and he would speak to the fact by 2013, he'd give a lot of lectures. And in 2013, he said by the year 2013, 40 to 60% of the population would be practicing yoga because it is a need of the times. You know, I mean, we have to look at all the chaos of information in our computer age and technology and the education of children and what, especially in our Western culture, what everyone's going through, and how is it helping our younger generation. And not just the younger generation, but the older generation. We're all only here for a little bit of time on this earth. And he speaks to that, and he talks about that yoga is a need of our times, and that's why 40 to 60% of the population is practicing. And he actually came here in 1969 to create teachers.
Wow.
And that's what we're still doing, is creating teachers. And you don't have to be a teacher, or you don't have to want to be a teacher. You can do this just for yourself.
It's really an opportunity to take time for self, which is a struggle.
Right.
A lot of people struggle with that. I know in the work I do, providing relationship counseling to couples, self-care is such a huge piece of like, I often say you can't give to your partner what you don't have for yourself. And
I agree.
So if you're looking to connect on a deep relational level and have this relationship practice, you also need to have a really robust self-care practice.
Absolutely.
Because that energy can then go into the relationship. And the relationship can feed the self-care. It can be this nice energetic exchange.
Right, and talking about self-care, I think we neglect ourselves so much, no matter what. Susie and I were just speaking about that this morning, about practicing, how we've both been really busy with other lives and helping other people and with, you know, care for others, and that's what we do. But then sometimes we forget about, hey, did you go to your yoga class today? Did you meditate? Did you practice? What did you do for you? And so I told her, I'm going to a yoga class on my way over to our interview today. Thank you, Joe Lynn at Flow Yoga, because it was a beautiful class. And as soon as I walked out of there, I was like, okay, there I am. There's myself again. And that's, you know, I got right back to it, and here I am. Yeah.
So you're practicing and living what
I truly believe in.
And what you truly believe.
What I truly believe in. And I think that's why Susie and I really do this, is we are teaching this for all of you. This is what we truly believe in, these practices. And it works. I know this works. We're living examples of that. You're a living example of it, right? So we welcome you, and we greet you, and we hope to see you soon, all of you. Yeah,
that would be wonderful. So with the last minute or two, could you share just a few specifics of what this training is going to involve, kind of when it would start, just some logistics?
Sure. You want to go?
Yeah. So our orientation will be on September 14th. We do have an early bird registration happening. So if you get your deposit in, which is $400, if you get that down to save your spot, you'll get an early bird discount of $200, and that has to be in by before the 1st, August 1st. So we're getting really excited. We've been working on, you know, just fine-tuning the manual and just really getting that idea of Tantra, you know, weaving all these practices together so that it can really come together beautifully for you. Yeah.
And the first session is in Crestone?
Yes, so we'll begin the training down in Crestone, Colorado, which is near the sand dunes. We'll be immersing at the Crestone Healing Arts Center, which is a beautiful healing center. They have a dojo, which is like a sacred space, and this is where you'll get to sleep and practice and come together for meals and just about everything.
Oh, and most importantly, what you get to do there is experience our organic chef, because you get to eat organically from growing food right here out of Aspen, Colorado, with our chef Suzanne Luck, who's also a fine-tuned Kundalini yoga trainer and teacher, and she's also an organic chef, and so she'll be joining us in Crestone.
Nice.
We'll also be visiting the Joyful Hot Springs for some healing.
Nice.
And
you know,
many different hikes and meditation walks around the area. So we'll be visiting the labyrinth and going to a couple different, the ashram, the stupa, just a lot of different sacred spaces that we really want to share with you.
Another thing that we're doing, which is really important for us, is that we are governed under the International Yoga Alliance, or Yoga Alliance, if you will, and they have a whole new standard for registered yoga schools, which I am absolutely thrilled about. Thank you, Yoga Alliance. So we uphold the standards with Yoga Alliance and follow them, and that's where you actually you receive your certificate from our school. But since we are governed under Yoga Alliance, you will be certified nationally and internationally to teach wherever you would like to. And we have a big business part of our program towards the end as well. We have a mentorship program. In our business program, we help you find gigs, if you will, at studios or different places. We have to go outside the box and think of all the different places that we can teach, whether that be your backyard or at the hospital or perhaps at your kid's school, or you can weave it into other healing modalities. So you get a big part of that as well with all the ancient teachings. Yeah.
Neat.
Yeah.
Well, so we will include links and information, contact information, so if folks have questions or they want more information or they want to register, we're going to include your guys' information, which will be in the comments of this Facebook Live. And if you've been watching this and you're like, well, I'm not sure, I'm on the fence, and you have a friend, relative, neighbor, somebody that you're like, I think this is for them, I invite you to go ahead and pass this Facebook on to them, because the more folks that really have this opportunity to access yoga, from my point of view, it just makes the world a better place. It raises consciousness, and people are in their bodies and coming from a centered, grounded place in the world.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Great.
All right. Well,
Yes.
thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
Have a wonderful day.
Namaste.